Let's now continue this discussion of objective and subjective market analysis. Now, the example I'm going to take you through now is one that sort of baffled and bamboozled the financial markets for many, many years. It's called the Alan Greenspan conundrum. Now, the reason I want to show you this particular example is because we tend to think that it's only retail traders that are sometimes too subjective in their approach and analysis. In this example, we're going to see, and I'm going to show you, how not just the new traders, but the financial gurus and the professionals made huge errors in their judgment about what the rates market should have done. More importantly, a lot of people lost a lot of money, and these are sometimes the professionals we rely on. What's the moral story? Remain objective as often as possible. Leave the subjectivity for people with deep pockets. You as a trader need to remain objective because that will help you develop an edge in the long run. So what was the Alan Greenspan conundrum about? Well, it's very simple. In 2005, former chairman of the Federal Reserve failed to understand why fixed income didn't respond as expected to the multiple rate hikes he had initiated in the previous year. In theory, higher interest rates would imply higher long-term rates. More importantly, expectations for future rate rises would imply that the longer end of the curve should also rise. And this is what baffled not just Mr. Greenspan, but most market participants. So if we take a look at this basic yield chart, what we can see is on the x-axis we can see the maturity or length of time, and on the y-axis we can see yields or yield opportunity. Now, what we should in theory see on this curve is as rates rise, in other words, as yields go higher and higher, as we go further along the maturity curve, we should see higher and higher rates. Why? Because one, we have rate expectations in the future going up. So this would imply we should have a steepening of the curve or a higher end of the curve. What actually occurred, and what we'll see a little bit later on, is that the curve actually went the opposite direction. And that was the conundrum. So, just a nice little summary, a brief summary of how to interpret the difference between objectivity and subjectivity. And this is something I keep very close to me, and I write it down quite often. It's simple. If there are more buyers than sellers, prices will rise. That's fact-based objectivity. How those prices rise is a matter of subjective opinion. Write that down somewhere because that will ensure that you are always remaining as objective as possible with a little bit of subjective analysis. So, many institutions lost money. Why? Very simple. They became too subjective and forgot to impose their objective analysis. If you do this, you are going to land in trouble. Yes, of course, time and time again, you may get away with being very subjective. But remember, this is a long-term game. Get it right from the start. Be objective in your approach, objective in your analysis, objective in your execution. Subjectivity to develop your strategies and develop your edge.